Bastard bowman! Who'd have thought these roadside thugs would have had the sense to add some bows in the shrubbery?
Bandits who've some experience, or at least less drunk than the usual rabble.
The two dwarves were ducked behind their upturned wagon, staying out of the reach of their enemies' bows. They had been tasked with clearing out a small group of bandits who had been attacking merchant wagons on the road to Feldenhurst. The two dwarves had disguised themselves as merchants and taken a wagon full of empty ale barrels from the Golden Leaf Merchants Guild. Kildrak had tried to convince the guild that barrels of ale would make for better bait. However, the guildmaster refused to do so. For some reason, he didn't seem to think that the ale would make it as far as the city gate, let alone Feldenhurst. This was a rather unfair judgment of the two dwarves, Ulrich felt. After all, they'll need to save some ale for the road. Another arrow striking the side of the wagon snapped Ulrich's mind back to their present predicament. Kildrak chanced to look round the side of the wagon.
Alright, so here's an idea. Charge forwards with our shields raised and smash them to pieces. Nice and simple.
Oh aye, a nice and simple way to become walking pincushions. What's the second idea?
What do you mean second idea? I put a first idea forward, it's your turn to come up with something stoned.
Could always wait for them to run out of arrows. The buggers are cheering away, not realising they're wasting shots.
Ah! Tempus does not smile on those who carry and wait. We need to take the battle to them.
Oh great, you can smile down on our arrow-filled corpses.
Kildrak turned and gave his friend a cold glare.
Be careful what you say about the Lord of Battle's friend, or it won't be the brigand's arrows you'll need to fear.
Ulrich shrugged, though in the back of his mind he did realise that maybe mocking the Lord of Battles in the middle of a skirmish may not be his brightest idea. Best wait till we're home with a couple of tankards, he thought.
Alright. Let's see what other options we've...
Ulrich's sentence was cut short as an arrow ricocheted off Kildrak's helm. The dwarf had stood to peer over the wagon, just as a fresh arrow was let loose. Kildrak dropped back down with a curse, taking his helmet off to inspect it.
It's a good job you have a hard head, my friend. Bet a silver coin that'd leave a mark.
Ulrich laughed, only to stop when his companion didn't return it. Looking down at Kildrak's hands, he could see the arrow that had struck his helm had hit the flaming sword emblem on the front of it. The emblem of Tempest had been damaged.
Barzul, here we go.
You shite shoveling bastards! How dare you defile the symbol of Tempest!
Kildrak dropped his helm and charged forward with his shield and warhammer, unleashing a mighty battle cry. His hammer began to glow with radiant light as he prepared to smite his foes. Ulrich grabbed his own shield and axe and followed the enraged dwarf into the open.
Charging it is as usual. Was that last smite really necessary?
The two dwarves stood in the road with several corpses around them. Kildrak's charge had caught the bandits by surprise, and their bowman only had time to fire 2 shots that bounced harmlessly off his shield before the dwarf paladin crashed into their group. Kildrak had already killed 3 of the 7 before Ulrich had even reached them. The final bandit had tried to run, only to trip and fall. Kildrak didn't hesitate to call upon the power of a smite to end the poor man.
Tempest looks down upon those who do not give their all in battle, for it is the place for folk to truly show their worth, their strength and their courage, to triumph over others or fall with honour as a warrior in battle. I offered these men an honourable death by giving it my all. They are the ones who bring shame on themselves by running. On top of it all, this piece of oak dung was the one who dented the holy emblem on my helmet.
Kildrak pointed to the crushed, burnt remains of the man who had tried to run. His chest caved in and burnt where Kildrak's warhammer, filled with the paladin's holy smite, had struck him. Ulrich looked over and frowned.
Are you sure he's the one that shot you?
Ah, of course I am. What kind of fool do you take me for?
Then where's his bow?
Kildrak's face dropped from the frustrated glare to one of confusion as he looked down at the corpse's remains and realised that the man had only been armed with a short sword and hand axe.
Well, it's, fine. You weren't the bastard who shot me. You happy?
I will be, when we get home and paid. There's a tankard back at the Guild Hall with my name on it. Let's get those bodies buried away from the road, and then we'll go home.
Kildrak continued to grumble, but followed Ulrich to get the shovels from the wagon. The two of them spent the next few hours digging holes for the corpses and stripping them of anything of value. There was little they could do for the upturned wagon, damaged as it was. The horses had fled the moment the fight had started, leaving the two dwarves to walk home as the sun was setting for the day. Another day, another job complete.
Another night, another round of loot. It's a shame the guards that the nobles hire such slackers. It's no fun without the chase.
What makes you think there's no chase?
Ring spun around, brought in her knives and peered down the dark alleyway. Out from the corner stepped a young slender man in a cloak, who stared at Strings with a piercing gaze.
I don't care much for the stolen trinkets of nobles, but stealing from the poor working class is a whole nother matter. They work too hard for too little as it is, and here's a young single mother whose silver necklace you stole. I'm here to take it back.
Oh, and what makes you think that I have it? Why would I risk stealing from someone who has less to take than a noble who won't miss a ring or three?
For the thrill of it. The necklace was in the care of an old washerwoman, who we both know is probably more than she appears. There are maybe 3 people currently in the city who could move unseen by her, and 2 of those are friends of hers.
Well, you can't blame me for wanting a challenge. The lead-footed fleabags that call themselves noble guards offer no challenge. You could bind me hand and foot, and I could still hop by them without their notice.
Well, that can be arranged. Add a little cowbell to alert them as the package arrives.
Ooh, feeling a little flirty, are we? Usually folks buy each other drinks before that kind of talk starts.
I don't drink with those who hurt honest folk. Now, hand over the necklace. Final warning?
You're a confident one. Want the necklace? Then why don't you come take it?
Rings turned and ran deeper into the alleyways. Delmore broke out into a sprint to catch her. The two of them raced through the alleyways of Karnag's abandoned district, leaping over old crates and climbing over crumbling walls. No matter how hard Delmore tried, he could do little more than keep the tabaxi in the edge of his vision. It quickly became apparent that Strings was toying with him.
Is this the best chase you can give? You'll never get the necklace at this rate, Leadfoot.
Strings had stopped at the end of the same alleyway that Delmore had first confronted her in. She had led him in a merry chase around the block, a fact that Delmore did not appreciate as he finally caught up with her.
What the hell are you playing at? What's the point of leading me back here? I'm not some toy for you to play with.
Ah, you're tired of playing already? We've only gone round the block twice.
Twice too many.
Delmore raised his hands and began to chant as his hands started to glow. Faint strands of spider silk started to grow in the area around Strings. With a yelp, she threw herself forwards, narrowly avoiding being caught in the growing spider web around her.
Ah, wait, you have magic? I thought you were...
Delmore stepped forward and disappeared into a mist, only to suddenly reappear next to Strings. With a burst of speed, he struck out at her with his longsword. Strings barely had time to raise her knives to block the attack, only to be shoved backwards as Delmore surged forwards. The tabaxi was thrown into the spell-woven web, which clung to her limbs, rendering her helpless.
Damn it! What kind of mage wants us around with a sword and armour?
One who's trained in martial skills? Was the craft of mystery? You should have handed over the necklace when you had the chance.
And miss all the fun we've had. Come now. You can't tell me you haven't enjoyed at least a little before you take me to the city guard.
I'm not taking you to the city guard.
Then what are you going to do with me? Oh, wait. No. Don't kill me.
Strings started to struggle as Delmore approached her, panicking as he reached forward, only to stop when his hand went to her pocket and pulled out the necklace that he had demanded.
You're not going to kill me?
No.
And you're not going to take me to the city guard?
No, and I'm letting you keep the rest of it.
Why?
I don't care for the nobility. They're too self-important, and they do little to help those less fortunate than themselves. I also know what you use most of your loot for, and, well, I don't agree with your methods, but I'm not going to stop you from doing it.
How do you know about that?
Well, you're a skilled thief, but there are some in Karnak who trade in secrets far deeper than your own. The weapon lasts an hour, and you'll be free to go. Don't target the working folks again, I won't have reason to come after you. Oh, and Strings, your secret is safe with me.
Delmore walked away into the gloom of the night, leaving Strings to wonder who he was to know so much about her. She had never revealed her name, and few folk in the city knew of her. The night held no answers for her, however, and she was left to ponder her predicament.
Come on, Aluna. You can do this. Want to see the world? Then join this guild to see it. Maybe they even have other mages that you can learn from. Think of all the magic you might be able to learn.
The young half-elf stepped forward and pushed open the heavy oak door to the guild hall. Immediately, she was hit with the smell of ale and roast meat. Inside, she could see many round tables with adventurers of all kinds drinking around them. A large fireplace to one side of the room with its fire kept it warm and bright, along with a multitude of torches around the room. Taking in the sights, Luna didn't see the mug of ale next to her, or the dwarf holding it.
Hey! Watch where you're going, stonehead! Don't mess with a dwarf's ale after a long day's walking.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I was looking around the hall instead of watching where I was going. I can buy you a new drink. Oh, not in that sense, sorry, but to replace the one I spilt. I have some money around here somewhere.
I don't need money for a new drink. I need you to not go spilling it, pointy ears!
Come on, Kiltrak, give her a break. It was clearly an accident, and it's not like you need to pay for the drinks here.
Oh, aye? And what about my laundry? That does itself, does it?
You mean the clothes that you've been wearing for the last 3 days? We've only just got back home from our last job, and you've still got bandit blood on it for Muradin's sake.
Alright, fine. I'll go sort me gear out. Hopefully, Brammer's is still open and can fix up me helmet.
The dwarf paladin grabbed his bag from nearby and made his way to the door. Atop the bag was a steel helmet which Aluna caught a glimpse of before Kildrak covered it with a piece of cloth. For a brief moment, she thought she saw a dented emblem of Tempest on it, though she hadn't got a good enough look to be sure. Across the room, Auric raved her over at the bar where he was sat. Behind the bar was a slender half-elf in fine clothes, a well-kept beard. Only his pointed ears gave away his true heritage.
You'll have to forgive our irritable paladin there. We just got home from a job with some bandits, and his helmet's emblem got damaged in the scuffle. Being a paladin at Tempus, he tends to take that quite personally.
Oh, thank you. I still feel bad that he lost his drink, though. Maybe I can leave a few coins here to pay for his next drink.
No need, lass. Guild members get free food and drink here. Within the reason, anyways. Now, why don't you tell us your name and what we can do for you?
Before you do, you look like you could do with something to eat. Non-guild members have to pay, of course, but I have some hot beef stew on the go and plenty of ale. Cost you 3 copper for both if you like.
Yes, please. That would be lovely. Thank you.
Aluna reached for her pocket to draw out some copper coins, but stopped when Oryx slapped down a silver piece in front of her.
I've got her meal, Leo. The extra can go towards some food rations for the next time I head out. If she's here to join the guild, then she could do with keeping a coin for some starting gear.
That's incredibly kind of you. But how did you know I was here to join the guild, Mr.
Sjelsson, Oryx Sjelsson, dwarven fighter of the Oaken Shields. And this lanky fellow here is Leozaren Geese, our resident bard turned administrator / barmaid for the guild.
Most folks around here call me Leo. Pleasure to meet a fellow half-elf. This...
Oh, I'm Aluna Delry, a wandering mage seeking employment.
Well, Miss Delry, a good friend at Auric has paid for your food and drink, so I'll return shortly with it. Try not to let him drink all my stock while I'm gone.
Oryx snorted into his drink as Leozaren left to get Aluna's food. As Oryx set his mug down, Luna wondered how the dwarf knew of her intentions before she had told them.
To answer your earlier question, folks usually come to the guild either seeking to help or to join as a member. It's rare we get folks visiting for other reasons.
That makes sense, I guess. Do many people come to join the guild?
Nah, not many folks are interested in the adventurer's life. Especially as a mercenary in a guild that, politically speaking, can be a bit problematic. While we are fewer than the City Watch, we collectively have the strength to rival them for sure. Some folks aren't comfy with that. Add to the potential dangers and skills required, not many want to join. Of the ones that do, not all of them make it.
Well, that's understandable. I've heard some nobles have complained about the guild before. There were even rumours that some asked Lord Stemfast to have it shut down.
I don't believe all the rumours, lass. There are certainly those who aren't a fan of the guild, but nearly all nobles have had work for the guild at some point or another. Some may not like to admit it, but they benefit from having muscle to hire. It can be difficult to find other folks capable of taking on the work they want doing sometimes, if they can afford to pay for it.
What kind of work does the guild get? I'm still young and I'm not yet a very powerful mage. I'm not sure I'm ready for grand, perilous quests.
Ulrich raised his arm and pointed over to the wall near the fire. As Aluna looked over, she saw a large notice board spanning most of the wall. Scattered across it were dozens of letters, leaflets and posters, all declaring various requests for help or warnings of wanted folk.
You see that board over there? That's our jobs board. The work we get varies from scholars wanting help deciphering magic poems of old, to simple wanted posters, declaring a price for some scoundrel's head. Anyone who has work and the coin to pay can put a job on that board for us, though most of it usually consists of bodyguard duty or capture some crook who stole something. Things that folks don't want to have to report to the authorities, since it takes them so long to handle it. That'll be work that you can do, don't you worry. Everyone in the guild has jobs they prefer doing, though, word of advice, don't narrow your options too much. If you only take jobs of a certain type, then you limit your options for work. It's worth branching out a little so that you have some options when necessary.
Holy Maestra! I didn't think there would be so much to do. How do you decide who does what job?
You simply go over and select the job that catches your fancy.
The half-elf had returned with a bowl of hot stew and a couple of mugs of ale. He placed one in front of Auric before placing the other and the stew in front of Luna. With her aching stomach reminding her she hadn't yet eaten, she eagerly tucked into the stew. To her surprise, it was incredibly well seasoned with generous helpings of beef and vegetable. The Ozarin continued as she ate.
The job board is open to all members to browse. They can select any of the jobs to bring to myself or Shinura, Guildmaster. Usually it will be me, as Shinura is often busy with other tasks. I'll sign off on our records that you've taken it, and off you go. Sometimes folks work solo, other times they work and others for larger, more dangerous tasks. It's up to you how you want to work. It's safer to have more with you, however, then you'll have to split the pay. Also worth mentioning that the guild does take a 20% cut from each job.
The guild has a tax on jobs.
Yes, and in return, we process job requests to keep the job board filled. Members also have the option to occasionally use the rooms to stay in here at the guild, as well as free food and ale here. Though some members tend to go through more ale than others.
Ugh, don't look at me. The rest of the guild are lightweights.
You and Kildrak have gone through a barrel today alone.
And it would have been more if Kildrak didn't need to get his helmet sorted. Thanks to bandits for denting it.
Yes, I'll go and dig up the dead bandits and thank them personally.
So, how do I join? Do I just go and select a quest now?
Not quite. Once you're a full member, then yes, but to join, you'll have to show you're capable. Nora vets each person who tries to join. You'll chat to her, and she'll handpick your mission as a trial run. Should all go well and you succeed, you'll sign a contract to become an official member, with all the benefit it brings.
Are you sure you want to do it, lass? Everyone has their reasons, and I won't pry too deep into yours. However, adventuring is a dangerous lifestyle. It has its perks, but also its dangers. Think carefully now.
I grew up with my mother in Feldenost, never going beyond its walls. We supported ourselves by doing small magic shows and odd jobs for folk. But my mother passed recently, and I didn't want to carry on doing magic shows alone. Instead, I want to see more of the world and learn more magic. Joining this guild means I can support myself while fulfilling those goals, and become powerful enough to confront the dangers. At least, that's what I thought.
Auric and Leo stared at Luna for a few moments, gauging her character. Silence was all that could be heard for a few moments as they weighed up what she said.
Well, if you want to learn more magic, then you'd best talk to some of our mages in the guild. I would suggest Helicene. She's not the most powerful, but she also seeks to learn more about magic, and is most likely to help you. Ruby would be as likely to blast you with a fireball as to help you cast one.
Thank you. I was hoping to work with another mage. What can you tell me about Helicene? Could you tell me where I could find her?
Before you go seeking other guild members, you should focus on being able to join. If you go and take the seat by the fire, I'll let our guildmaster know that you're waiting, though it may be a short while before she can see you.
Oh, of course. I don't mind waiting. I look forward to meeting Shinura.
Luna stood from her seat as Stu finished. Lifting her ale, she headed over to the armchairs that were near the large fire. She sat and slowly sipped at her ale as she opened her spellbook. Leo turned back to Auric.
So, what do you think?
Auric looked over to where the young half-elf girl was sat and thought for a moment.
She's a sweet young lass, but rather naive. The adventuring lifestyle doesn't allow for that to last long. Shinura will also tear her apart unless she sees something in her.
So you don't think she'll last?
I think it depends on if she can handle whatever task Shinura gives her to join. If she can hold her resolve through that task, then I think she has a chance.
Leo Zarin nodded in response to this. Auric was one of the original guild members and had more experience than most. He understood well the challenges of the adventuring lifestyle and more to the point, the challenges of impressing Shinura. Their guildmaster did not tolerate fools, meaning their new half-elf friend would face some difficult challenges in the days ahead.
Welcome in, young lass. What can I do for you? Anything you need, I'll have it here, or I can smith it up for you.
The dwarven smith put down the rough blade that he'd been sharpening and moved to get a better view of the newcomer to his forge. She wore a simple top and a skirt that hung loosely from her slender body. The tabaxi looked down to Brammer and gave a flirtatious smile.
Anything you say? So maybe something a little more than weapons and armour?
Well, anything as weapons and armour and tools go. Otherwise, I have to answer to the wife.
We wouldn't want you to get into trouble with your wife now, would we? Where do you keep your daggers and knives?
Far corner over there. Most folks tend to eye up the bigger, more intimidating weapons. Daggers are underappreciated more often than not.
Strings moved over to the far side of the forge where she could see a slightly worn display case with several daggers inside. She had taken care not to be seen before now, so was confident that no one would recognise her from her nighttime activities. Still, she didn't intend to be out for longer than necessary, just in case.
Those are my regular stock. From a simple sharp bit of metal to a more decorative piece. Each one is razor sharp and will slice through a bit of pork belly like it were butter. I also have some magical stock in the back if you're interested in spending a wee bit more coin there.
Well, now you've got my attention. If I was to spend more of my hard-earned money, what would it get me?
Let's see. Have a moon-touched dagger that can emit moonlight? Or a dagger of warning that, well, you can. Warns you when danger is close.
As Brammer continued to list his magical wares, String's eyes began to wander across the items displayed on the wall. Swords, spears, axes, wanted posters. She paused and cursed under her breath as she saw herself. Wanted, Tabaxi Night Thief, reward 1,000 gold pieces. There couldn't be that many Tabaxi in Karnag.
For more subtle folk, the transforming dagger can hide as a ring. You okay there, lass? You look like you've just seen the ghost of a mad mage of old.
Oh yeah, sorry, the transforming dagger. Could you tell me more about it?
Good choice there. The dagger is magically honed for a better cutting edge. It can transform into a golden ring to be kept hidden. Perfect for wee ladies looking for a subtle weapon for self-defense.
That sounds like a fine option. I'll take it and a regular service dagger.
Before you disappear, Brammer, could you pick up my short sword from the back?
A slender, jet-black tabaxi stepped up beside Strings. The new tabaxi wore a dark green cloak with a bow on his back and stood several inches taller than Strings with a grin that suggested mischief.
I hope I'm not intruding on you. Or do I need to tell your wife about anything, Brammer?
Likes you trust you of all people to not be stern, you lanky giant bastard. Aye, I can collect your sword. At the same time, give me a few minutes, would you?
Brammer turned away from the two of them and disappeared into the back of his forge. Strings was left to look at the newcomer, who started to look around at some of the other weapons that were on display.
So did you enjoy hanging out in that web the other night?
Excuse me? I don't know what you're referring to.
Looping looked over from the great axe that he'd been inspecting, still grinning as he gave Strings an amused look.
Don't worry, I'm not going to sell you out, and Brammer won't hear anything over the rummaging in the back. Delmore was a little sour about you giving him the runaround, so leaving you hanging in the web was his little way of getting some payback.
Well, if we're being open about it, no, I didn't. Do you have any idea how boring it is being stuck there for an hour?
Nope. I've never been caught.
Never? Well, that's interesting. It suggests you've been in situations where being caught was a possibility.
Looping feigned a look of innocence.
Let's just say the city guards get a little upset when they find inked paw prints on their backs during guard duty.
Looks like I'm not the only troublemaker then. Do I get to learn your name, or are you another mystery man like your friend?
Looping Coil, Tabaxi Ranger of the Oaken Shields. The fellow who left you hanging around the other night was Delmore Firth. He's, well, complicated. Simply put, he's a lone wanderer who protects folks who are less well off than others.
Did he tell you why he let me go?
For the first time, Lupin's grin finally faded as he became more serious. The two Tabaxi looked each other in the eyes as they tried to gauge each other's characters beyond their light-hearted banter.
No, he didn't. Whatever the reason was, it must have been good. Delmore doesn't usually let folks go. He firmly believes in protecting those less fortunate. It's because he's asked me to leave you alone that I'm not looking to stop you myself. I trust his judgment, so you don't need to worry about me. For now, anyway. Fair warning, though. I'm not the only member of the guild that's seen that wanted poster. Some of them will start to come after you for the bounty soon. Not all of them will be as forgiving as Delmore.
Well, it was going to happen sooner or later.
Strings moved over to where Lupin was standing, getting close to him, running her finger across the top of his armour before placing her hand on his chest. She looked up to him, his face confused at the sudden intimacy.
Shame. I think you would have been a lot more fun to play with than Delmore was. He was a little too stuck up to have any fun. I appreciate the warning, though. Sounds like I've still got some fun ahead of me.
Well, yeah, that's one way of putting it.
I'm back with your gear. Am I interrupting something here?
The dwarf returned from the back room carrying a couple of sheathed daggers and an elven short sword. His eyebrows raised as he saw how close the two Tabaxi were to each other. Strings quickly stepped away, pulling a bag of coins from thin air and presenting it to the dwarf.
Nothing of importance. I believe this will cover the daggers. You can keep the change. Consider it a thank you for the magical dagger.
Strings handed over the bag of coins with an impish smile, sparing a glance at Lupin as the dwarf checked the contents.
Orden's beard! That's very kind of you, lass. You're welcome back here any time.
I'll keep that in mind.
Strings turned to leave the forge, winking at Lupin as she passed him. Lupin's grin returned as he waved her off.
Found yourself a new friend there, Lupin?
I have no idea. Guess we'll find out. Anyway, I should probably pay you myself.
Lupin paused as he touched his belt, his hip noticeably lighter, tucked his head under his cloak to confirm what he already knew.
Are you kidding me? Well played, Strings. Hey, Branner, how do you feel about an IOU?
All right, take my time with the semantics. I can do this.
Luna took a breath before starting to chant, slowly raising her hands, forming gestures as they began to emit a soft green glow. As she finished her chant, she thrust her right hand forwards as the green light shot from her palm. For a brief moment, the light formed the ghostly shape of an arrow before slamming into the old plank of wood that was its target. The light turned acid the same moment it hit, and began to eat away at the rotten piece of wood. Helicene nodded in approval.
Nicely done. Remember not to rush the gestures, or the spell may not form properly. Done right, an acid arrow is useful for eating away at locks and doors that block your way. It can also be useful in combat, making it a multifunctional spell. A good choice for an adventuring mage to learn.
How does it compare to the magic missile spell? Couldn't that be used for both?
It could. However, the acid from the acid arrow will slowly eat away at a target, making it more effective at destroying locks and such. It's also only a single arrow instead of multiple darts like in the magic missile spell, so it can be more subtle. Magic missile has other advantages, such as being easier to cast and harder for a mobile target to avoid. Each spell is a tool, and it's learning which of your tools is best for each situation, though that comes from experience more than just practice.
I guess I don't have much experience. I'm grateful that you've been willing to teach me more magic. It isn't easy finding a teacher for arcane arts, and my mother was only able to teach me a few basic spells that she had learnt. I wasn't sure I was ready for my entry task that Shinura gave me. Clearing out some goblins from near the quarries was a bit intimidating.
And yet, you were able to do it. Instead of tackling the problem head on, you studied it and decided to lure the 3 goblins out with illusions into a compromised area of the cave. Collapsing it after with a simple magic missile was well done. The plan maybe had some flaws, but it worked out. You showed the ability to think critically, if a little naively, which is more than most young mages can say, and some older mages.
I guess. I appreciate that, thank you. I'm a little confused though. What was I naive about?
You assumed your plan would work.
A drow dressed in black leathers moved into view as she approached Aluna. She was only a few inches taller than a young mage, but carried herself with confidence, and her eyes holding an intense gaze. A silvery tattoo of intersecting lines over her left eye only served to make her more intimidating. When the guildmaster spoke, her voice held an edge that demanded Aluna listen.
You had no past experience dealing with goblins and only common knowledge on what they're like. You also didn't consider factors such as if the whole cave was unstable, or what would happen if any of the goblins saw through your illusions. Could you have fought them off if they saw you?
Well, no,
If any aspect of your plan went wrong, you could have been buried under a cave-in or cornered by 3 angry goblins. Best case, they would have stolen all of your valuables and left you tied up in a cave to die. Worst case, they would have killed you where you stood.
Shinura stood over Aluna, the drow staring her down, waiting for the half-elf's reaction. Intimidated, Aluna took a small step back and looked over at Helicene for support, though the wood elf simply watched on with a wooden expression. Unsure what else to do, Aluna steeled herself and tried to meet Shinura's hard gaze.
I did what I thought was best at the time. I know the plan had flaws and carried some risk, but I didn't have many options. I did the best I could at the time and still managed to complete the task. Was I really so wrong to believe the plan would work?
Silence followed as Aluna tried to hold Shinura's gaze. A few moments passed before Shinura's expression softened, ever so slightly, to a look of satisfaction.
So the young woman does have some steel, if only a little. Good. I don't doubt your ability to perform, but instead it was your naivete and confidence. You put too much trust in people and things you know little about without the experience to back it up if something goes wrong. You have shown intelligence, though, a trait lacked in many, including members of this guild. If you continue to use both your head and resolve in years to come, then you may just live long enough to overcome your weaknesses.
You were testing me?
To a degree. Just because you've joined the guild doesn't mean you can coast along now. Your entry task was only a taste of the work that you may need to complete here. Goblins will become the least of your worries.
Her warning given, Shinura turned away from Aluna and left the way she came. The half-elf watched as the guildmaster left, unsure of what to make of their conversation.
It's rare Shinura gives compliments. You should be proud of yourself.
It didn't feel like a compliment. It felt more like she was trying to scare me.
If she was trying to scare you, then you would be curled up on the floor in tears. Shinura is an intense woman who can leave even the likes of Kildrak crying like a scared child, and he's a paladin of Tempest. No, she was simply gauging your resolve. The only other person I've heard her express potential about was Looping. You clearly caught her attention with how you handled yourself in your entry task.
I've never met anyone as terrifying as her. Who is she exactly?
Helicene closed her spellbook and sighed, before gazing in the direction that Shinura left by.
No one really knows. She came to Karnag just over 5 years ago and started this guild soon after. No one knew who she was or where she came from, only that she quickly became known as a woman not to be messed with. Rumour has it she has a lot of connections in the black market, and underground as well as high-ranking nobles of the land. Who could say how true that is, though? No one is foolish enough to pry into her private affairs. I doubt any person who did would be breathing for much longer.
Surely someone knows something. I find it hard to believe someone could come from somewhere and create a guild that became one of the most well-known organisations on the Shielded Islands in only 5 years.
Helicene turned to the young mage, eyes full of warning as she clasped both her hands together, leaning forward on the table she was sitting at.
Aluna, we are both curious minds who like to learn and question the things around us. This is a key trait for a wizard after all, given much of what we do is research and experimentation to seek and create new magic. However, there are some secrets we can't learn, and others that are simply too dangerous to be worth seeking. Many mages have met their end by not knowing when to simply turn away. I suggest you consider this before probing Shinura's history.
Aluna opened her mouth to speak, though stopped as she considered her teacher's words. She didn't see the harm in the question she was asking, but the look on the wood elf's face convinced her not to ask further. She closed her mouth as she resigned herself to not getting the answers that she was asking for.
Now, let's get back to your magic training. Your acid arrow is coming along nicely. How have you been progressing with your mage armor spell?
That's it. This is barely enough to buy an ale.
I'm sorry, that's all the coin I have, I swear.
Pathetic. You'll find me more by tomorrow if you know what's good for you.
Oh, of course. I'll find it, sir.
The terrified villager cowered before the larger man. Armoured in heavy plates, the broad-shouldered bounty hunter towered over the poor woman. He reached up to his shoulder where his greatsword was sheathed, and gripped the hilt as if to draw it.
You better, otherwise your protection ends. And you don't want to know what bandits do to rural folk with no coin.
He pulled at the blade slowly, his eyes unblinking and dead.
I know, I don't just... Please don't hurt my family.
Then don't be late!
Stolen grabbed the poor woman and twisted, throwing her backwards down the road. The woman stumbled, almost falling to the ground before finding her feet, running away as fast as her feet could carry her. As she ran, she passed a serious-looking young man in a cloak who stared at Stolen from across the street.
What are you looking at? Unless you're offering up that nice cloak you have there, you should just keep moving.
The only thing I'm offering you is a warning. Give back the gold you've beaten out of the people here, or face the consequences.
You? You look like a child who's found his father's sword and now fancies himself a warrior. Go on, boy, before I lose my patience.
I'd like to see you try.
Delmore drew his longsword and prepared to fight. Across the clearing, the larger man shrugged before drawing his own blade. The greatsword glinted in the sunlight as Stolen showed off his sizable weapon.
You were warned, boy.
but you're foolish to think if you could beat me alone.
And who said I was alone?
Ground erupted around Stolen as several grasping vines rapidly grew around him. The plants wrapped themselves around his arms and legs, holding the bounty hunter still as he struggled to advance toward the young fighter.
What in place is this the sorcery?
Nature magic, the power of rangers and druids. Now this is your final warning. Leave these people alone, or be made to leave. Permanently.
The only thing leaving is your soul when I tear it out of you, boy. The same for your little friend when I find them.
Stolen pulled at the roots holding him down. As the larger man set his considerable strength against the vines, they strained and broke. Freed from his natural bindings, Stolen moved to charge down Delmore, only to stall as an arrow struck his arm.
Fucking archers! Come out and fight me like a man, you coward!
No thanks, I'm quite happy shooting you from over here.
Stolen swung round to where he'd heard the Tabaxi's voice, but couldn't see the hidden assailant. Realising he was caught between Delmore and Looping, Stolen swerved to take cover behind a nearby house in an attempt to hide from the ranger's bow. Drawing a small crossbow as he ran, he took a shot at Delmore before dropping the weapon. The mage raised his hands and chanted, summoning a spell shield just in time to deflect the missile.
Stay on him, Looping. I'll cut him off.
Looping broke cover from behind a house further down the street to get a clear shot at Stolen down the alleyway. Drawing another arrow, the Tabaxi only needed but a brief moment to take aim before releasing the bowstring. The arrow flew between the two houses before striking the bounty hunter in the back of the leg. Stolen let out a pained shout as he stumbled. He managed to stay on his feet and pulled himself around the corner, only to come face to face with Delmore as he was preparing another spell.
Oh, you're not getting away that easily. Magikai, Telum!
3 glowing darts shot from Delmore's outstretched hand, slamming into Stolen's chest. These seemed to have little effect, though, as the larger man stumbled forward, grabbing Delmore.
No more magic tricks, boy.
With a heave, the larger man pushed against Delmore. Even with his injuries, Stolen's strength overwhelmed the younger fighter as he was shoved to the ground. As he fell, Stolen lunged forward, aiming to impale the downed man with his greatsword. His blade landed high against Delmore's shoulder, tearing through mail and muscle alike. Delmore gritted his teeth, the sensation of cold steel bit into his flesh.
Where's that confidence now, boy? Lost all that bravado after losing a little blood. Should have stayed home and left the fighting to real men.
Real men don't abuse defenseless innocents for a few coins. How's that bravery? It's cowardice in disguise.
What do you know of bravery? It's a cruel world, boy. Shame you won't live to see it.
Bounty Hunter pulled his blade free from Delmore's shoulder, causing him to grunt in pain. The younger warrior's blood still dripping from the blade, Stolen grinned as he prepared to drive his weapon back into Delmore's chest. Instead of fighting to stop the blade, Delmore raised his hands again and began to chant. Realising that his foe was up to something, Stolen brought his sword back down but found only dirt and soil. Delmore vanished in a puff of mist and reappeared 20 feet away before ducking behind a wall, clutching his shoulder.
Running away? Coward! There's no...
Stolen's taunts were cut short as something cut into his arms. He stepped back and raised his blade to defend himself, only for something unseen to cut into his legs, causing the bounty hunter to lose more blood.
Forget about me.
More trickery! Weak bastards!
Stolen stepped forward and swung his blade in a wide arc, hoping to strike the invisible foe. His blade found nothing but air, and Stolen's trembling legs failed him as he dropped to one knee. He finally lost grip of his weapon, the blade clattering to the ground pathetically. As the bounty hunter looked up, a jet-black tabaxi in a cloak faded into view.
This fight's over. Carrying on will lead to death by 1,000 cuts, and you've already lost a lot of blood.
I won't be bettered by a couple of upstart pups. Especially not a rotten flea bag like you.
With a sudden surge of strength, Stolen lunged forward and grabbed Looping by the arm. Drawing a dagger with his offhand, he proceeded to stab the ranger repeatedly in the arm as Lupin tried to pull away.
If I'm going down, then I'm taking you with me, Fleabag. You and the pathetic weakling are both...
Stolem's threats were cut short as the reddened tip of a long sword protruded from his chest. Delmore stepped out from behind a sudden cloud of mist behind the bounty hunter, striking a deadly blow.
That Fleabag is 10 times the man you ever were. You can go to the next plane of existence knowing you were killed by a couple of weaklings.
Stolem's grip on the tabaxi loosened as he fell to his knees. He looked up at Lupin, his mouth trying to form words as his strength finally left him. No sound escaped as the life left his eyes and the soulless body slowly slumped to the side. Delmore dropped, sitting back against the house behind him. His face paled as he raised his left arm to clutch at his wound, blood still flowing freely.
Here, let me. Senatio Spiritus.
Lupin's hands started to emit a soft green glow, as did the area around Delmore. The wound on his shoulder slowly began to knit itself back together as the colour returned to his face. Once the wound closed, Delmore breathed a sigh of relief as Lupin sat next to him and began to heal his own wounds.
Well, that didn't exactly go to plan.
We had a plan?
Of course we did. Step 1, surprise the bounty hunter with an entangle spell. Step 2, don't get stabbed.
Step 2 sounds more like a goal than a step to a plan.
Ah, but if we call it a goal, then we only succeeded in half our goals. If we call it a step to the plan, then we can say we hit all our goals with a little improvisation.
I would hardly call getting stabbed improvisation, Looping.
Or did you plan on being stabbed?
Why did I ask you for help instead of literally anyone else?
As if to answer, a pouch of gold coins landed at the floor in front of Delmore. Confused, he looked up to his friend who had tossed the bag over.
Because no one else would have stepped in to help you as fast as me. That's half the bounty that was on this guy's head. I knew you wouldn't come home to claim it, and you need some funds to help you on this wandering venture of yours.
Delmore picked up the pouch and pocketed the coins. There was a small but considerable amount there that would pay for food and shelter for the immediate future. He looked back over at Lupin and gave a nod of appreciation. The two adventurers sat together, taking the time to regain their strength and share a moment of quiet companionship.
So, was being stabbed part of the plan, or are you just really bad at improvisation?
I swear, I'm going to strangle you with your own tail, Looping.
You're not very good at this sneaking, are you?
Not really. It doesn't really feel right sneaking around the docks. Is this really the best way to catch some smugglers?
Where else do you think ship smugglers are likely to do business? Besides, we're not really aiming to catch them as such, just get more information on where they're getting some of the valuables they're smuggling. A lot of nobles have lost family heirlooms of late, and rumour has it they're being smuggled out the country. The docks are the only way that's possible, so we start here.
That makes sense. Do you have a plan then?
Yep. The most hidden spot in this part of the docks is the entryway to that walkway. It's obscured from the rest of the docks by the warehouse next to it. We'll stay hidden behind these crates, and when they go their separate ways, we follow one of them. You're here in case they start speaking Aquan again.
Again?
Looping turned to Aluna and gave a grin, his emerald eyes glinting in the dark of the night. He didn't answer the elf's question, though, as he turned back to watch for their prey.
It was also a request from Auric. I was going to ask Helicene, but he figured this would be a good task for you to gain some on-the-job experience. Upskilling in wizardry is good, but it isn't a replacement for it.
I see. Well, thank you. What happens if we're seen, though? I have an invisibility scroll I can use, though it will only work for one of us.
Probably best to save that. Sure, it makes you invisible, but it's dark and we're well hidden. We're more likely to be heard on these squeaky wooden boards than seen from over here.
Oh, well, maybe I could...
Shh!
The tabaxi hushed his half-elf friend as shadows moved in the distance. A small halfling woman came into view, closely followed by a large half-orc. The halfling motioned to the half-orc, who ducked down as the halfling quietly spoke to him. He then took up a position behind his smaller companion, his cloak shifting slightly to reveal a wicked-looking battle axe concealed beneath. Looping looked over at the Luna, and held a finger to his lips as they watched on. The newcomer stood still, as if waiting for something. The Luna shifted her weight slightly, anxiously waiting, though unsure what to expect. For several minutes, another cloaked figure moved into view and approached the others. The halfling spoke quietly, her words just audible over the sounds of water beneath the adventurers.
It's about time. We don't need to be hanging around here. Is the next shipment ready?
Hey, I needed to make sure I wasn't followed. The last thing we need is this city guard poking around. It's ready. We had another collection coming tonight. That's been packed up. Do you have the payment?
The halfling turned to the half-orc and nodded. In return, the large figure reached into his cloak and pulled out a bulging pouch, which he threw to the elf. Raising his hand, the elf caught the pouch as it clinked, before seeming to weigh the pouch in his hands.
Half of it. You'll get the rest when the shipment is packed up. Just make sure you're...
The smugglers looked over to where Looping and the Luna were hidden, eyes wide in alarm. The young mage has shifted her weight, causing the wood below her to squeal in protest. She gave Looping a look of panic as he reached over and silenced her with his paw.
Invisibility. Now, stay hidden.
His command given, Looping stood up and gave an awkward smile to the smugglers, giving him death stares.
Oh, hey there. Don't suppose you fine folks could point me in the direction of some fishing bait, could you?
The elf drew a dagger from his sleeve and moved to attack Looping, only for the halfling to stop him. He gave Looping a wicked grin.
Orgog, turn the cat into fish food.
Why is it always the cat insult with you people?
Looping leaped over the crates where they had been hiding and sprinted away from the smugglers. The half-orc drew his battle axe from beneath his cloak and wordlessly gave chase as the two of them disappeared into the night. Grasping the opportunity brought by the sudden rush of people, the Luna pulled out a scroll of invisibility and quietly chanted the incantation. The scroll quickly crumbled to dust as the spell took effect. Not a moment too soon, as the elven smugglers peered over the crates where Luna was hiding, looking straight through her. The mage made an effort to stay still, not wanting to give away the fact that she was there, but invisible.
We should go, Umeru, in case there's anyone else eavesdropping on us. Orgog would deal with the cat.
Are we sure he was alone?
No, but that's more reason to get out of here. I don't want to spend the night in a cell.
The smugglers started to leave as Luna's mind raced. Looping had told her to stay, but they hadn't learnt anything, and their only source of information was now slipping away. If she let them go, then they came out here for nothing. Luna came to a conclusion quickly. She has an hour of invisibility. She might as well use it. She hurried from behind the crates, not wanting to lose sight of the smugglers. Thinking she was losing them, Luna ran around the corner, only to nearly bump into the halfling, stumbling as she came to a stop.
What was that?
Did you hear something?
The halfling cast her gaze back across the path. Luna fought the rising panic and tried to remain still as the smuggler's gaze passed over her invisible form. Seeing nothing, Sylphina turned back to her fellow smuggler.
It must have been the wind.
Umero's eyes narrowed, but the elf made no other movements besides that. He turned away from the halfling and raised his hand to his chest, showing a dark grey ring on his middle finger.
Good. We should split up and meet at the rendezvous point. Don't be followed.
The elf twisted the ring and murmured a command word before his form shrunk back into the shadows. Luna silently cursed to herself.
Damn, I guess I can only follow the halfling now. At least she seems to be in charge.
The elf vanished, the halfling turned away and carried on walking down the path. Taking care to move with less haste, Luna followed her, intending to see where she was headed. They had only rounded the next corner, though, when Sylphina stopped again, and turned to face back the way she had come, with an evil grin.
Whoever you are, you're terrible at this. Invisibility doesn't mean you can't be noticed.
A feeling of dread came over Luna as she realized that Sylphina was talking directly to her. Knowing she had somehow given herself away, Luna turned back, intending to run away. Instead, she saw the pommel of her sword striking the back of her head. The world went black.
Oh, my head. What happened?
The young mage's head ached with a feeling of a heavy fuzz, but was slow to shift. She tried to raise her hand to her head for comfort, but found that something held them both, pinned behind her.
What on earth? Oh no!
Luna opened her eyes and realized the trouble she was now in. Her hands had been tied behind her, a thick rope tied across her torso had pinned her arms. Her ankles had been similarly bound. A quick test of her bindings told her she wasn't getting free anytime soon. Looking up from where she sat, she saw both the smugglers she had been following, grinning down at her, with eyes that promised only bad intentions.
Rise and shine, kid. We wouldn't want you to miss what comes next.
And what would that be?
The halfling crouched down in front of Iluna, her heading becoming level with Iluna's as she tried to move away, though stopped by the crates behind her.
That depends on you. If you tell us who was with you and what you heard, maybe we'll just take you hostage.
And if I don't?
We'll see how well you swim tied to an anchor.
No, please, I'll talk. But how did you know where I was? I was invisible.
Sylphina threw back her head and laughed. As she did so, her elven companion also crouched down in front of Iluna.
You're still new at this, aren't you? Just because you can't be seen doesn't mean you can't be heard. Also, your position can be given away by your environment. You might have been invisible, but the puddle you were standing in wasn't. And we could see the ripples from where you were standing.
Iluna's face paled at the realization of what she'd done. She'd taken a huge risk again by not listening to Looping. He had thought that she was prepared, given extra spells she had learnt from Helicene, but she'd stumbled into trouble, having barely cast a spell scroll. Looping's words about magecraft skill not being a replacement for experience came to mind as he wondered if she'd now ever get the chance to gain the experience.
Too late to realise this now. There's no second chances in this game. Now tell us who else was with you before I roll you in the drink.
Only Lupin, the tabaxi that you saw run away. It was just the two of us, I swear.
Sylphina glared, clearly not content with Iluna's answer. He reached out to grab the mage, only to be stopped by Umero as the elf stood up.
Wait, we may have use for her yet. Your half-orc muscle hasn't returned yet, and she is a maid, so she may also be worth some money. Why throw away something that potentially has a lot of value?
Give her the chance to get away. She could cause us a lot of problems if she goes mouthing off to the city guard.
And how's she going to do that? She's going nowhere in a hurry unless we let her. We should at least wait till the tabaxi's been dealt with.
Oh no, you don't. Thought you could try some magic trick? Try that again and I'll cut out your tongue. Umero, give me something to gag her with. Umero!
Sylphina turned back to where the elf was standing, to see his body slumped to the floor behind her, an arrow protruding from his chest as the blood pooled beneath him. The halfling cursed, standing as she drew a knife, only to realize it was too late for the elf. Sylphina tried turning to run away, only for a glowing length of cord to appear next to her, wrap itself around her, entangling her limbs.
Shit!
The form of a black tabaxi faded into view between Iluna and Sylphina. Looping stood with his bow, another arrow already knocked should it be needed.
Not quite how I hoped tonight would go, but we improvise. You okay, Luna?
I think so.
Good. Sit tight. I'll be with you in a minute.
Let me go, you mangy mutt!
That's even worse than the cadding saw earlier. Can't you tell the difference between a tabaxi and a dog?
Fuck you, fleabag!
The halfling thrashed about in her bindings as Looping stood over her.
I'm not one for forced interrogation, so why don't you make it easier on both of us? Tell us who's supplying the valuables you're smuggling, or it won't be my friend here getting cosy with a ship's anchor.
Yeah? How am I supposed to trust that you won't kill me anyway? You've already killed my contact, and probably my muscle as well.
Hey, he's the one who tried to catch an arrow with his eye. If that's how you feel, I could just start looking for a ship's anchor. Or maybe a wooden barrel would be more your preference.
Sylphina gave Looping a glare of hatred before turning her head away from him.
I can't.
Damn, I really thought that would work. Alright, guess I need to actually go find a barrel then.
I can't because I don't know. I handled the transport. Amero was the one who took the deliveries, and you killed him, you stupid hairball.
Looping looked over at the dead elf he had shot earlier, blood still pooling around his chest.
Ah.
Now what? You ruined both our nights. Thanks for nothing, you fucking
Looping ripped a strip of cloth from the dead elf's shirt before using it to silence the halfling. Sylphina continued to shout muffled insults at him while straining to get free from the enchanted rope.
Firstly, my delicate ego can't take many more of your insults, so we're going to shut you up. Secondly, I'm going to go help Luna over there before we take you to the city guard. I'm sure they'd love to have a chat with you.
Fuck you!
Looping left the angry halfling to continue her muffled rant as he went to crouch over Luna. He grinned at the mage, not yet moving to free her.
So what happened to staying put?
I'm sorry. I just thought that if they got away, then we would have come out here for nothing. And I was invisible, so I didn't think they'd see me. But they surprised me. I guess I didn't realise what you and Auric meant until now, when you said more spells aren't a replacement for experience.
Hey, don't get down on yourself. You're alive now, and that's what matters, though it's certainly worth learning from this. You're not the first to fall victim to inexperience. I've fallen foul to it many times. I suppose main difference between us is I'm a faster runner. I suppose if I was to give one piece of advice from tonight, then it would be this. Dangerous plans can have good payoffs, but naturally have high risk. If you're gonna take big risks, then try to make sure you've a way of getting out there quickly if things go south. There won't always be someone around to rescue you.
Thank you. I'll try to consider that in future. Now, can you untie me, please? This isn't the most comfortable, and I could really do with a drink after tonight.
You're starting to sound like Auric. Careful you don't start drinking as much as him. Him and Kildrak would drink the whole guild dry if Leo let them.
Are you sure this is a good idea, Bharen? Breaking into a guild hall of mercenary group doesn't sound like it will end well.
Stop being a wee wimp. The Oaken Shields are just a bunch of drunks with an overblown reputation. They won't know they've been robbed till long after we've gone.
I'm not sure about that. I've heard the stories. Lots of folk speak of how folk from here are mighty warriors that have slain whole bands of outlaws, or spellcasters that can burn you up with a single word. And then there's the guildmaster.
The drow that everyone's scared shitless of. And yet no one knows anything about her. Those stories about her are nothing but fishwives' tales. Now shut up before someone hears us.
Ignoring his partner's concerns, Bharen knelt down in front of the guild hall door and set to work picking the lock. Tegel stood to the side and looked down the street nervously. Fortunately, few folks had reason to be out on the street at this time of the night. At least, few folks who would care about the two thieves.
One moment. Almost there. Second level. Oh, got it.
The lock clicked as Bharen twisted on the lockpicks. the door silently swinging open to reveal the unlit interior of the Oaken Shields Guildhall. The two thieves peered in before quietly entering the hall. With very little light to guide their movements, they move cautiously to avoid alerting any who may be listening for intruders.
It's too dark in here. I can't see much. Where would they even keep the gold anyway?
There's probably a safe room in the back. Some office, or something. Or, maybe upstairs.
You mean you don't know?
Of course I don't know, you wee idiot. You think I've been here before? Now stop being so loud before.
The creaking of stairs interrupted Bharen. Alarmed, the two thieves ducked down behind a table as a half-elf walked down the stairs. With a candle in hand, Leozarin swept his view across the room with a puzzled look. As his eyes settled on the entrance door, he frowned, noticing it was open ajar. As Leo moved to the door to investigate, Bharen and Tegel silently crept around the table to stay out of sight. Bharen turned to his partner and silently drew his dagger.
This half-elf should know where the gold is. Let's use some persuasion.
Tegel nodded in response and quietly drew his own dagger. The two thieves crept up behind Leo as he closed the door.
I could have sworn I locked this.
Bharen shoved the unsuspecting half-elf into the door, pinning him with his arm. Leozarin's expression changed from one of surprise to alarm as he opened his mouth to call for help, only to close it again as Bharen raised his knife threateningly to his throat.
Shut it. Not a word. I'll have your tongue. Do as we say, you won't get hurt. Understand?
Who are... yes, anything. Just, please don't kill me.
Oh, stop your whimpering. This is what all the stories of the guild talk about. We should have robbed here years ago.
Tegel stepped forward, getting closer to Leozarin as the bard tried to shrink away from his assailants.
Are you sure this is one of the adventurers here? He looks a bit pathetic.
I'm not. I just run the bar here. Honestly. Well, other tasks too, but mainly just the bar.
Ha! Even better. You'll know where the gold is kept then. You can lead us straight to it.
Yes, I can. Then you'll leave? You won't hurt me. I promise not to tell anyone who it was.
Yeah, we'll leave you alone. You better not try anything, though.
Wait, how do we know you won't try and raise the alarm as we...
I won't, I promise.
Leozarin sweated nervously as he clutched at the arm pinning him to the door. Bharen glared at him, clearly trying to decide if he could trust the half-elf.
Fine. Show us where the gold is, and we'll leave you. Leave you tied up in a corner, that is. Taggerl, you have the rope, right?
Bharen looked over to his companion, who gave a blank stare in response.
Me? I thought you had it.
Ah, for the love of Mask, you're hopeless.
You might be a little late now.
Oh yeah? Have you found some spine then?
Oh no, I'm still a coward, but he isn't.
Bharen and Tegel yelped in surprise as the two of them were suddenly lifted from the floor. Two large steel arms held them both by the scruff of their necks, as a large warforged stood behind them with a mixed expression of concern and confusion.
Oh, Leo's new friends are mean.
What the blazes is this thing?
And why is it made of metal? And stone?
My name is ID10T. I chop the carrots.
Tegel stopped trying to free himself, staring at the warforged with a stunned expression.
Your name is Idiot?
ID's expression slowly changed from concern to a frown as he looked at the thief.
No, my name is ID 10T. I get it, names are hard.
I suggest you don't upset him. It won't go well for...
To hell with this!
Bharen twisted free of ID's grip, falling back to the floor. Twisting as he landed, the thief went to stab ID in the stomach, only for his knife to glance off the steel of the warforged body. Stunned, Bharen stared down at his now blunted knife, as ID looked down with a sad expression.
That wasn't very nice.
The warforged brought his steel fist down on Bharen's head, knocking the thief out cold. Bharen slumped to the floor in front of ID, as the warforged simply watched.
Oh gods, you've killed him!
Your friend will be fine. He's just, sleeping.
Sleeping?
ID turned his head to look at the other thief, still dangling from his arm.
Friend is also mean. He sleep as well?
No! No sleep for friend! No sleep for friend!
No, I think he's learned his lesson. Why don't you take the two of them to the city guard? Tell them that these two tried to steal from us, and that I'll go and explain everything to them in the morning.
Very mean friend. Is Leo alright?
I'm alright, thanks to you, big guy. Get going with these two, and then tomorrow you can chop the onions as well as the carrots.
The warforged expression lifted to one of pure joy as he threw the unconscious thief over his shoulder. Still holding Tegrill in his other hand, ID walked out the hall as Leo opened the door for him. As the door was closed behind him, the warforged could be heard excitedly telling Tegrill about his cooking.
Does mean friend think the guards want carrots and onions too?
The half-elf smiled as he locked the door, knowing that his large friend would still be talking about cutting onions for cooking, all the way to the guardhouse. As he turned away from the doors, he saw Helicene coming down the stairs, with a quizzical look on her face.
What in the 7 Isles is with all the commotion?
Nothing to worry about now. A couple of thieves broke in and tried stealing from the guild. Now they're being carried to the city guard by ID.
The elf mage softly chanted an incantation as her ring started to emit a bright light. The room lit up with a soft orange light, as if a fire had been lit. Helicene gave Leozarin a bemused look.
Thieves broke into the guild? Who would be foolish enough to try and steal from here?
Thieves who aren't very smart. Admittedly, they did have me cornered, but they somehow missed the large steel warforged walking up behind them.
They're lucky it was ID. He may be large, but he's a softie, really. If it had been anyone else, they never would have made it out alive. Even more so if it had been Shinura.
Leozarin looked back across the room at the guild door, his mind thinking on what could have been.
If it had been Shinura, then no one would have ever known they were here.
Oh, will you give over and just follow the road, you stupid mule? I've seen drunks walking a straighter line than this.
Well, if you stop fidgeting, then he may. Having a dwarf in steel armour moving around on your back constantly would be difficult for any creature. I can't imagine he's enjoying it either.
He's not enjoying it. Well, that makes 2 of us.
I'm a little surprised, Auric. I would have thought you'd be used to horses by now, given how long you've been an adventurer for. Weren't you also in the military before then?
We marched when I was in the military. Horses were used to pull wagons for equipment. As an adventurer, I typically prefer to walk, but will ride when I have to. So I've no fondness for it.
It would seem your horse isn't fond of being ridden by you either. Maybe we should give you some lessons?
Auric scowled, but didn't answer as he made an effort to remain still. His horse calmed down a little and stopped trying to swerve off the path. As the dwarf's horse slowly settled, Aluna coaxed Hares alongside Oryx.
Do we know what the Rurkle family wants us to transport? It seems a little unusual to hire adventurers to move goods.
No, but given their daughter is supposedly marrying a farmer from Bradford, and that's where they'll be taking whatever this is, I guess it's a family heirloom or perhaps something similar for a wedding. Given the price they've offered for its transport out to Beldernost, it's likely something of great personal value. Either way, it should be pretty easy, which is likely a comfort for you after your last one.
Aluna winced slightly as she thought back to 3 nights prior. Her encounter with some of the smugglers in Karnag had not gone well, and could have been worse if not for looping. Aluna rubbed her wrists as she thought back to how she had been helpless before her captors.
Yes, that is a little reassuring. As you mention it, I was wondering if you knew where I could learn anything about escape artistry, or any other skills that could be useful for escaping such situations. I don't mind admitting that I was terrified when the smugglers were threatening me. There was nothing I could do, and my magic isn't much use if my hands aren't free.
So you think the answer is to learn to escape being bound? Are you planning on getting caught again?
Well, no, but I thought in case it happens again, I'd rather not be left helpless.
Then don't. Didn't you say the smugglers saw through your invisibility because you were standing in a puddle? If they hadn't caught you, then you wouldn't have been in that position to begin with. Why spend the time trying to learn how to escape when you could learn to avoid it in the first place?
I hadn't thought about that.
You're on the right track, trying to learn from your mistakes. You're just not thinking it through, though. The smugglers caught you because they needed information that you had. If they didn't, they would have just killed you instead. Escape artistry is no good if you're dead first.
When were you planning on learning this skill as well?
Helicene manoeuvred her horse from behind her companions to come alongside Aluna. The group travelled abreast of each other on the road as Helicene continued.
You're already busy most days with jobs for the guild or practicing your magecraft. You could spend less time training with magic, but this would slow down your development as a mage, making situations like this more likely to occur in the first place. While there are likely some who could help you with this, it may not be the best choice if your goal is to simply not get caught by anyone. A better solution would be to learn how to better apply your magecraft skill to aid you in not being detected in the first place.
I suppose that makes sense, though I'm still a little concerned as to what would happen if I was ever in the same position again. Has it ever happened to you, Helicene?
I've been in somewhat similar predicaments. A job with Auric and Kildrak that took us to the Begorn Forest. We were surprised by some vine blights. They were able to entangle the three of us before we could react. Thankfully, Kildrak was able to break free, and Auric was also able to make use of that ring he overpaid for.
The first and only time it's been used was a stupid purchase made off the back of a sea job that went bad.
Is the ring magic? What does it do?
Auric released the reins of his horse for a moment and pulled a ring off of his left hand. He passed it over to Aluna, who inspected it closely. It was a simple silver band with swirling patterns akin to leaves being blown in the wind. Drawing upon her magecraft, Aluna could detect that the ring did indeed hold magic, though she didn't recognise the spell imbued upon it.
It's an enchanted ring I picked up after a job dealing with the thrice-blasted pirate Captain Digger. Once a day I can speak a command word to use its spell. I believe it was called Freedom of Movement, though that means little to me if I was being honest. Helicene could likely tell you more about it. All I know is that rough terrain doesn't slow me down, nor does being in water. I can also slip free of restraint, which is the reason I bought it.
Freedom of movement? That's not a spell I'm familiar with.
It's an abjuration spell, typically used more by rangers and druids. It's not a class of spell that's typically used by wizards. When cast on a person, they cannot be paralysed or restrained and can easily move across hazardous terrain. As Auric mentioned, it also allows a person to slip free from any restraints, provided they aren't magical. That was how he was able to free himself before helping me with the vine blights. Few of my spells only use verbal components, and fewer still are useful in such a situation.
Ooh, I could do with an item like this then. At least until I can be sure I can avoid being caught again.
Well, then you can keep it. It's barely been of any use to me, so if it offers you some comfort, then keep hold of it.
Are you sure? This can't have been a cheap item, and I would hate to leave you without.
Aye, it's fine. I've been meaning to look into more suitable items for myself anyway. Buy around at the tavern when we get to Feldenost, and we'll call it even then. Be warned though, the ring still needs its command word to be spoken. It will help you get your hands free if they're tied, but if there's a rag in your mouth then you're stuck as you were before.
I'll keep that in mind. Thanks. At least I'll have a possible escape if it happens again.
Luna slipped the ring onto the middle finger of her left hand, taking a moment to allow herself to appreciate how stylish it looked. As she looked over her new item, a thought occurred to her.
You mentioned you got this after a job that went bad. Who is this Captain Rigger you mentioned?
Luna sat back in surprise as Ulrich released a string of dwarven curses under his breath. The usually calm dwarf was clearly not fond of the pirate. Helicene suppressed a laugh.
Captain Rigger is an infamous pirate who's becoming a significant problem for merchant ships. I'm not sure where he comes from, but it would seem he's more capable than other pirates that have plundered trade in the Seven Isles. Interestingly, it seems he prides himself on never telling a lie, which is a little odd for a pirate.
Why would he never lie? That does seem a little odd for a pirate.
Because it makes him more dangerous.
The dwarf turned to look at the young mage with a steady gaze that held a warning.
Captain Rigger deals in information. This is how he knows which merchant ships carry the greatest loads, while avoiding larger military warships. He'll gather information against his enemies and use it against them. He may not lie, but he'll speak in half-proofs and omit crucial information. His tongue is as much a weapon as his sword, even with the damn thing letting him bring his whole ship to life.
To life? What do you mean?
His blade gives him total control of any ship he stands on. Everything from the keel to the crow's nest. He can unfurl the sails and redirect the ship in any direction he wishes, without moving from the spot. He can also manipulate the rigging, to snag and ensnare people.
So that's why you got this ring. You ran into Captain Rigger? What happened?
I don't want to talk about it. Safe to say, after dealing with that pirate, I no longer care for sea job. And if you encounter him, then just run. You'll need more than that ring if you come to face with that fucking furball.
I would generally avoid sea-based jobs anyway. For the time being, at least. Being on a boat in the middle of the ocean can bring extra complications that you don't need to be dealing with right now.
I see. You two have given me a lot to think about. Thank you. It's also been a nice distraction, if I'm being honest.
Lost in her own thoughts, Luna didn't notice her friends cast each other a look of concern. Nor did she notice as they allowed their own horses to fall behind her own slightly. With a small gap between Luna and themselves, Helicene pulled alongside Ulrich.
Did it occur to you that this job may be her first time back in Feldenost since her mother died?
Aye, it did. Unfortunately, she was gonna have to come back here sooner or later. It had to do it on an easier job with folks who look after her, as opposed to a rougher task with folks who couldn't care less.
I suppose that's true. And the ring? That wasn't a cheap gift that you've given to her.
Ulrich shrugged as he looked over at the young half-elf, who was clearly still deep in thought.
I've no real use for it. That was true enough. It was a purchase that was made out of anger. Outside the story you told, it's been nothing more than an ornament to me. If it offers her some comfort, then at least it's providing some value.
Helicene simply nodded in acknowledgement as the two of them watched their younger companion as they travelled on. A comfortable silence enveloped the group as Feldenost slowly paved into view. Ulrich and Helicene came alongside Luna as the three of them approached the city's great walls, giving their friend their silent support.
So let me get this straight. You think just because you arranged my escape, that automatically means I'm going to trust you?
I think I've shown how I can be an asset for you and your colleagues. Surely we can come to some mutually beneficial arrangement?
Mutually beneficial? Why do I get the feeling this arrangement's going to be more beneficial for you than it would be for us?
Captain Rigger raised a paw to his chest in mock pain, his white fur standing out in the dim lighting of the warehouse. A small group of his crew around the room listening in as he spoke. They'd all seen him negotiate before, and it always ended with the same result of their captain getting his way. The only difference being if the other party was willing partner, or needed some persuasion.
You wound me with such accusations. I've already freed you from the guards and presented you with information that could help you if any other incidents arise. That particular group of guards taking stolen loot for themselves, instead of returning it to their rightful owners, is such a misuse of power. Wouldn't you say so, Ralgo?
Oh, aye, sir. Such a disgrace to see among those who swore to protect the people here.
Absolutely. Imagine what other secrets they may be hiding. If a price is to be paid for silence, then surely a few quiet words are worth the price. A little bit of information can go a long way in the right hands.
Alright, shut up, you've made your point. So you can help keep the guards off us. And you've also let on you can help us with finding safe ships to smuggle things out of Karnag on. The question is, what do you want for it, and what happens if I say no?
Unknown to the pirates and thieves below, a dark shadow silently climbed through a high window and crept along the rafters of the warehouse roof. Looping Coil listened into the conversation below as his stealth spell cloaked his dark fur in shadows. Despite aid of the spell, he remained quiet and slow in his movements to avoid detection.
So Captain Rigger is in town, which explains the mysterious release of the halfling. I wonder if he seeks to profit from the smuggler's ring.
Unaware of the intruder above, Captain Rigger gave a sincere smile to the halfling before him. He raised his arms theatrically as he continued his negotiations.
What do I want? Well now, information like what I can provide has value, so it seems only fair that it has a price, no? As for what happens if you say no, I would bear you no ill will. You could walk free, and I would take no action against you. Although, without coin to pay for my crew, they may leave for better fortunes. What they would say and do would no longer be my concern if they let in the information slip.
Snorts of laughter came from the Rigger's men as their captain closed his trap. Sylphina narrowed her eyes as she realised what she thought were negotiations was instead blackmail in disguise.
So this is why you had me released. Should have smelled the bullshit mutually beneficial my ass.
My dear friends, this is mutually beneficial. You still have your freedom, do you not? And I'll uphold my end of the bargain and provide information to smooth over any incidents. I'll have plenty of motivation to help you, given I'll have a substantial stake in your endeavours.
As the halfling continued to shout at the pirate, up above, a flicker of movement caught Looping's attention. He turned his head to look over the side of the warehouse beyond Captain Rigger, but saw nothing but storage and crates. He frowned, certain he saw something. Deciding that the halfling was just going to continue her rant for a while longer, Looping silently crept along the rafters to where he saw movement. As his position moved over to a stack of crates below, Looping froze as he saw loose strings crouched below them.
What on earth is she doing here? I don't see any valuables, and she doesn't strike me as someone who deals in information. So what? Rigger's enchanted blade.
Looping remained still as he tried to think. It was clear that Strings was a skilled thief, and against most pirates she could likely sneak by without issue given what he's seen of her. But Captain Rigger and his crew were not most pirates. As if to confirm this, the pirate Rigger referred to earlier on as Relcon turned his head sharply to the crates where Strings was hiding. She'd barely moved and not made any sound, but somehow he knew she was there.
Too fucking tabaxi, such a nightmare to deal with.
If I may interrupt, Captain, We may want to pause these negotiations for a moment.
And why would that be, Mr. Elkin?
Because it seems we have some uninvited folks listening in these negotiations. Was Victile!
The crates that hid Strings from view were tipped aside as the large stone hand grew from the floor beneath them. Suddenly exposed to the room, Strings tried to run, but was too slow to avoid the stone limb. The hand grabbed the thief, pinning her arms as it held her still. Strings looked up at the pirates and gave an innocent smile.
You don't think this is cheating a little? If you wanted to hold my hand, you could have just asked.
Well now, what do we have here, if it isn't the infamous Night Thief of Karnak? If what I've heard is true, and I know it is, the docks aren't your usual hunting grounds. What brings you to this fine establishment tonight, I wonder?
Well, I heard tell of fine company. The magnificent Captain Rigger and his mighty crew. What woman isn't drawn to such a dashing pirate as yourself?
Drawn to wealth, more likely. Which is fitting, since there's quite the set of bounties on you. We could take you to claim one of them. Or...
The pirate turned away to face Sylphina, who'd stopped cursing him for the moment, though her glare still remained.
As you seemed a little upset at my proposal, how about I sweeten the deal by offering you our little visitor here? You could claim the bounty for your own. Would that help smooth things over?
That's not going to change the fact that you're blackmailing me into this agreement. And do you really think the guards would just hand over the bounty to a group of smugglers, even if we did turn her over? Rather leave her sleeping with the fish in the harbor. At this point, I'd take great joy in drowning one of you goddamned cats.
Oh, come on now, that isn't necessary. I'm not going anywhere. I'm sure you could just hand me over to the guards.
Strings squirmed in the stone grip that held her as Sylphina's glare slowly morphed into an evil grin. Above them all, Looping watched as the situation unfolded. It was clear that if he did nothing, then Strings would be killed. As much as she was a thief, she was only a thief, and Looping didn't feel she deserved what Sylphina was planning. Still, there were several pirates and the smuggler to contend with, and he couldn't fight them all. He wasn't eager to join Strings in seeing the harbour seabed.
The question isn't if, but what. I could easily knock out the mage, which would likely free Strings. The rest of the pirates won't stand idle, though. I need to be able to slow them down as we get away. We would only need a few moments.
His eyes searching across the room, Lupin's gaze settled on a stack of barrels below. Filled with fresh drinking water, each barrel held considerable weight, and a stack of them falling would be a hazard for anyone. Examining the scene, Lupin realised he was in luck. Only the pirate who cast the spell was next to Strings, the rest were behind where the barrels would roll. Moving as quickly as he dared, he set to work climbing down from the rafters unseen to put his plan in motion.
It seems a shame to waste a perfectly good bounty. But alas, if it placates you and settles our negotiation, then we can arrange for our friend to meet with Davy Jones.
I'd still rather it was you or the mangy furball that got me arrested, but fine, I'll settle for this one. At least something fun will come out of tonight.
No, sure, please, surely I'm worth more to you alive.
Not necessarily. Only one of the bounties calls for you alive. We both know the other.
Crash! Followed by the thunderous roar of falling barrels interrupted Rigger. A cascade of barrels fell in a tumultuous uproar as the pirates were cut off from their prey. Only Relcon remained by Strings, turning away to shield himself, to find Looping standing next to him with a strike ready.
Night-night!
Looping struck at Relcon's head with the pommel of his blade, causing the pirate to drop to his knees. As he fell, the stone hand restraining Strings quickly crumbled as she looked at Looping in astonishment.
What?
Enjoying the fine company. Now run!
Looping gave Strings a push towards the door as they ran to make their escape. The uproar caused by Looping's distraction was fading almost as fast as it came. Already, the pirates were recollecting themselves. It wouldn't be long before they gave chase after them.
Once we're outside, we should split up. You know how to stay hidden, so do so. I'll lose them.
A sudden force stopped Looping in his tracks, silencing him. Despite immense effort, his muscles no longer moved as he commanded. Lupin tried to order his body to act, but to his horror, it wouldn't move.
The mage! How is he back on his feet already?
Lupin's thoughts were confirmed as Relgon grabbed him from behind, pressing a dagger to his throat.
You're gonna pay for that.
Lupin could only watch helplessly as Strings raced on to the door at the end of the warehouse. Opening the door, she turned back to face Lupin, eyes widening as she realised he'd been caught. With the other pirates hot on her heels, there was little else she could do. The thief cast a sad look back at Lupin, and then made her escape.
Thought you could arrest me and make me look like a fool. You're not looking so strong and mighty now, are you, cat?
The halfling glared at Lupin with evil intent, clearly enjoying his predicament. The tabaxi had been stripped of his weapons and cruelly tied to an anchor that was tipped over the edge of the boardwalk. Only a single length of rope was stopping the anchor from dropping into the water below, a length of rope that had a dagger pressed against it, ready to cut. Lupin made an effort to ignore the water and focus on how he could escape this grim fate.
Not really. I have to ask, though. I understand why you want to do this to me, but why Strings? Surely there are ways you could have claimed the bounty without revealing yourselves as thieves.
It's not worth the risk. Better to be rid of anyone who might reveal us or give us away. She could have sold us out to get her own deal.
But then why get rid of her at all? She's a thief. Probably one of your suppliers of stolen goods. Surely it wouldn't benefit you to kill her off.
Right, and how was I supposed to verify that? I told you before, Umero was the one who handled that side of things. Without him, I had no way of...
Are you going to kill him, or keep letting him play you for a fool?
What?
The longer you talk to him, the more chances he has of help coming. All the while, you're spilling your guts on everything you know. He's stalling.
You son of a fucking bitch!
I was really hoping you wouldn't catch on to that.
Fuck you!
Sylphina sliced through the rope with her dagger, causing the anchor to immediately fall back into the water below. Lupin drew in his breath just as the cold waters of the harbour enclosed around him. He shuddered, almost releasing his breath as the cold sapped his body heat. He strained at the ropes binding him, desperately trying to free himself, but to no avail. The already tight bindings became tighter as the now soaked ropes constricted further. The anchor came to rest on the sea floor as Lupin began to panic. The water wasn't deep on this part of the harbour, but in his position, 20 feet may as well have been 200. Time was not on his side. Lungs burning, Lupin once again tried to pull his hands free, only to be surprised when he could suddenly move them. He felt a hand on his shoulder as the ropes around his torso and legs were cut away. Using the last of his strength, Lupin swam upwards, following the hand that still clutched at his shoulder. Lupin broke the surface and gasped for air, his tunnel vision receding as his lungs drew in fresh breath. Lupin felt a pour over his mouth, silencing him as loose strings held a finger to her lips. Below the boardwalk, they could still hear Sylphina and the pirates talking.
Okay, so you mean they're all gone? How do you manage to lose so much stuff so quickly?
I don't know. They're here, now they're not.
I think I know how. Don't underestimate the skill of our enemies, my dear friends. Some of them are as dangerous as we are. Now, may I suggest that we reconvene our negotiations elsewhere? We're hardly looking conspicuous here.
Lupin and Strings remained still in the water as they listened to those above walk away. Minutes passed with only the gentle lapping of the seawater to be heard. Satisfied that the pirates had left, the two tabaxi climbed up on the boarding and took a moment to recover.
Well, this has been a fun night. Fine company indeed. Next time, maybe buy a girl a drink before you need her to come rescue you.
Where would the fun be in that? Don't forget, I saved you from being the one on the anchor.
That's true. I suppose this makes us even then.
Not quite.
What do you mean?
You still owe me a pouch of gold.
Touché. Well, I don't have a pouch of gold, but I do have something else.
Strings walked over to the far side of the boardwalk to a pile of barrels. Lifting the lid off one of them, she revealed all of Lupin's gear that had been taken by the pirates.
It's no pile of gold. but I think you'll find this will suffice.
That it will. I suppose we are even then. Maybe next time we should try to avoid the life or death situation.
And miss out on all the fun? Where's your sense of adventure?
Lupin grinned at Strings as he reached into the barrel. Strings watched as Lupin began to dry himself off and re-equip his gear.
So, now what? Are you going to take me in or let me go again?
Well, let's see. You are a thief who is wanted. Taking you in would stop you from stealing from folks and put a few coins in my purse, which conveniently went missing after our last encounter.
Well, there is that, but...
But, being the skilled thief you are, you anticipated this. You may have cut me loose from the anchor, but left my hands and feet bound. If you escaped while I was working myself free here, well, no one's managed to track down the ninth thief yet.
String's eyes lit up as Lupin grinned at her. She gave a smile of her own before blowing Lupin a kiss, then turned away and walked into the night. Lupin watched as Strings slowly faded from sight, taking a moment to enjoy the fact he was still alive after his near miss with death. Looking out over the harbour water, Lupin smiled to himself.
Between myself, Strings and Rigger, I'm beginning to understand why folks around here aren't too fond of tabaxi.